Last time.
What does that hold for the future? I'm not sure, but I'll bet good money that this movie's probably gonna be mediocre. Hey, I'm not being cynical, it's just a fact. I just hope they prove me wrong.
Oh, wow. So as you can see, I basically tricked myself into reviewing The Power of Us after saying in my I Choose You review that I had low expectations for the next Pokémon movie. But then I started hearing things about it after its release in Japan. Things like how this film was unlike any other, how it was actually really good, how the dub was keeping the original soundtrack, etc. I didn't want to get my hopes up, but I was excited to see it in theaters, and after seeing it, I couldn't believe just how right those claims turned out to be. I really couldn't. This film had a goal set in place and reached it expertly. All the main characters set out to do what they wanted to do, and each one had a story with a proper beginning, middle, and ending. No time was wasted, and all the stories connected with each other naturally throughout the film, which I also appreciated. I gotta say, my favorite story to follow was the one with Callahan and his Sudowoodo. This guy reminded me a lot of Hercule and Usopp from Dragon Ball Z and One Piece respectively. He pretends to be such a big shot, but it's all just an act to look good in front of everybody, though he has good intentions. Harriet was another standout character, and like with the last film, there's a moment she has with a Pokemon that caught me completely off guard and tugs at the heartstrings hard. Even Team Rocket get a fair amount of screen time, and they actually do things pertaining to the plot for once. Just by hearing all that, you can tell this wasn't the typical Pokemon movie. There weren't a lot of battles, no transformations, and there wasn't even the token watch these legendaries fight each other scene. Don't get me wrong, this is still a movie with Pokemon in it, and they're very much a part of everyday life, but it foregoes pretty much everything we've come to know about these movies and puts its main focus on the people. Really, the only person that didn't have an arc is Ash, but hey, at this point we've come to accept that, right? Jokes aside, he still gets involved and helps everyone with their problems, and I thought that was pretty smart. It is a story about everyone after all. It was also pretty crazy to have Pikachu as his only known Pokemon, but that's just another example of putting the time into what's important. Speaking of which, the token legendary Zeraora had a genuine build-up. This is the kind of Pokemon that would normally get a huge exposition typically at the start of the film, but this time around they leave little hints about it here and there and don't even say its name until the end of the first act, and it doesn't show up proper until about the halfway point. Then when they do get into its backstory, it feels a lot more natural and a lot more deserved. This was handled so much better than other mythical Pokemon in recent memory, and yes, I'm mainly referring to Marshadow. And the other legendary you may have seen promoted here? Yeah, don't expect to see that one for a while, or for very long. In another shakeup, this is the first film to not be directed by longtime director Kunihiko Yuyama, instead by Tetsuyo Yajima, responsible for heading the XY series of the anime. There was an interview where Yuyama said he noticed how Yajima pulled off action, drama, and character relations so well with XY, and that worked perfectly for this film. Here's hoping they bring Yajima back for more stories. Animation-wise, it was also pretty great for the most part. All the 2D stuff was good, and when battles went down, it looked fantastic. The kind of battles where bystanders have to be careful not to get hit themselves and has a bunch of crazy awesome camera angles. But as it is a modern anime film, there's gotta be CGI in there somewhere, and of course it looks weird on the background people in Pokemon, but if you pay no mind to it, it shouldn't be a problem. One of my favorite scenes animation-wise was the whole catching competition scene, and like I said, when there was a fight scene, it was pretty jaw-dropping. And to top it all off, the dub of this movie was a real treat. It was great to hear both Pokemon voiceover veterans and newer talent come together for a film like this. Fun fact, this film marks the return of VA Lisa Adams, who played Vivian, you know, the Master of Ceremonies in Pokemon Advanced. I think that's pretty cool. Everyone did a great job with their deliveries and motivation, and the script I found to be pretty well written. There was the occasional cheesy line here and there, but that's par for the course with Pokemon, and it's not like a little cheese ever killed anybody, so no big deal. The voices for the Pokemon themselves were good too, and in your obligatory Casey Rogers mention, there were several Casey-voiced Pokemon here that sounded just like they should. When a Bellsprout showed up, I was like, hey, wait a sec, is that her? And to whoever voiced Totodile, give yourself a pat on the back. Also want to give props to Pete Zarustica for his performance as Zeraora. Not sure why the dub isn't keeping Japanese Pokemon voices lately, but Zarustica did a great job with its growls and yells. I loved hearing him as Drew, Ash's Glalie, Big the Cat, so it was great to hear him in a big role again. Bill Rogers also did great as Sudowoodo and proved once again you can get a lot of emotion out of something even if it only says its name. But now for the big thing about this dub that you've likely heard about. For the first time since Genesect and the Legend Awakened, the dub actually kept the original Japanese score, and it was so refreshing. There were several songs I instantly recognized from the anime and games, and it was great hearing them again after what felt like forever. It's almost as if the Pokemon Company listened to the fan feedback from the previous movie, and if they did, I'm very happy about that. For the record, I did like the ending song they made for the English version. No doubt one of the strongest productions of the dub so far, though I'm a bit worried something like this will just be lightning in a bottle. Let me explain. Maybe it's because I saw the movie on a cold Wednesday night in the middle of nowhere, but my brother and I were the first 2 people to show up to the theater, and only about 5 to 10 more came in after us. I compare that to I Choose You, where the place was pretty packed. Nostalgia probably had a factor in that. I hope it had a bigger turnout in other places because everything I got out of this movie, I only want more of it. So, if it wasn't obvious by now, I was really impressed with this year's film. Like the city it takes place in, The Power of Us was a breath of fresh air. This felt like movie first, Pokemon second, and it didn't feel held back by its source material. It's the kind of film I would see a creative mind like good old Takeshi Shudo make, to be honest. It didn't try to be hype and didn't have wall-to-wall fights, but it just served as a really good, down-to-earth story. Call me crazy, but I think this is the shot in the arm the movies need to really be great again. I definitely rank this as one of the better Pokemon movies, probably even top 5 material, and I'm totally getting this on DVD when it comes out. If you guys are interested in this movie at all, then you gotta support it, because hopefully we'll get more like it if we do. I do not want this kind of movie to be a one and done type of thing. And I've heard rumblings of the next Pokemon movie and how big that one could potentially be. So to not jinx that movie's quality, I'm going to say I have no hopes for it. But I really, really hope that they prove me wrong yet again. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this little review. If you did, feel free to give this video a like, share it with a friend, subscribe, check out all my social media pages, you know, all the good stuff that I always ramble on about. And if you happen to see The Power of Us, tell me what you thought about it. Sound off in the comments below. And if you'd like, feel free to check out my Patreon page if, and only if, you feel like supporting me more directly. You can get access to weekly blogs, behind the scenes stuff, your name in the credits right here, stuff like that. So if that interests you, follow the link in the description below. And with all that said, I will see you guys next time. Later.